Welcome back to No Apologies on Beck. I am your host, Lori Hins. With me, senatorial candidate and representative for the state of North Dakota in District 7, Rick Becker, at least for the time being.
Yes.
For a little bit.
Hello, Lori. So happy to be back on your show.
Well, I'm getting a little pushback, a blowback from the fellas in the booth today because of the color, because I look like a floating head because I matched the background. But sorry, guys. It's my favorite color.
You're a talking head, you may as well be floating.
Yeah, I'm just floating too. So happy to have you here. It's been an interesting campaign. You're winding down a little, at least until the actual convention part of it now.
3 days to go till we know who has the Republican endorsement.
And that will be an exciting time.
Oh, it's going to be very exciting. It's going to be a close race, and yeah, it's going to. I understand there's going to be some other stuff going on, which I'm not really privy to, which I'm good with. Okay. But some concerns about rules and stuff like that.
So we are going to talk a little bit in this segment about unelected bureaucrats.
So one of the things that I've been talking about when I'm going out to districts, talking to people about what I represent, what I want to do in Washington, D.C. One of the things, which is kind of a topic it's hard to get down into, but it's that I am so sick of the bureaucrats in Washington. And for instance, I've said I want to see some of them jailed. And then I got taken to task by an opinion writer about, he claims to be about small government and he wants to jail people. What I'm referring to are the bureaucrats that perjure themselves and are fraudulent and commit other crimes, and they come before Congress and just outright lie and obstruct justice, and they're not being held accountable.
Well, criminal acts should mean jail.
Well, absolutely it should. And I think that the legislature, both Senate and Congress, are like these wimps that the bureaucrats aren't afraid to lie to. You know, I remember Eric Holder was the Attorney General for Barack Obama. And he was so smug. He was in he is one of the liars. He was in the Fast and Furious debacle where they were having this secret gun running over to Mexico. It was a horrible debacle. He should have gone to prison for that alone, but he should have also gone to jail or had some other penalties because he outright lied to Congress, and he did it so smugly. I watched the interviews, the questioning in Congress, and his smugness just permeated the room. And there was at one point a guy, I'm blanking on his name, congressman from Texas, Louis Gohmert.
Louis Gohmert, oh yes.
And he was talking about casting aspersions. And Louis accidentally said asparagus, which is a pretty comical thing to say.
I can see Louis Gohmert doing that, but I really
however,
like him.
At a later date, Eric Holder was back before Congress and testifying, and he said something to Louis Gohmert in just this
snide
you just want to slap you want to bring in Will Smith for this job.
Yeah, right. Smack.
So, but he said, well, something about something about asparagus, and just being very in here. So what I'm looking at is there's two prongs in essence. There's the component that we're talking about at this moment, where they're lying and they're obstructing justice, and they need to be held accountable. But there's also another component, and that is that these executive branch agencies, that's what all these agencies are, Department of Education, Environmental Protection Agency, blah, 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 blah. They are agencies of the executive branch under the control of the president. They are acting like a fiat legislature. And that's the problem, is that Congress abrogated its responsibility in the Constitution to allow for this to happen. And then, like so many other things, a liberal court over a period of time has said, well, yeah, they can do that. But there was an article. I sent it in.
You sent me the graphics. Let's take a look at here. There we go.
So a really good article, and it's the Supreme Court needs to stop unelected bureaucrats from making up laws. This is critical. This is why I talk about it on the campaign trail. It's a little bit in the weeds, but it's so important. We have to bring back the legislating to the legislative branch, because, ladies and gentlemen, the legislative branch is the only branch in which these people are elected by you. You have people like Eric Holder and others, Anthony Fauci. They're not elected, but they make, in essence, legislation. Think about all the stuff with COVID, that the various agencies can say, well, this is now a law, this is a law. It's not really a law, but it has the same effect as a law.
I don't remember voting for Fauci. Thank you very much.
So there is a call in this article, a call to say, let's bring this back to the way it's supposed to be in the Constitution. And they're very hopeful that with the Supreme Court makeup as it is now, because there are currently 4 justices that have last heard something related that would have been in favor. And now, since then, we have, in addition to Gorsuch, he was on there, but we have Kavanaugh and Amy Barrett.
Amy Coney Barrett.
Amy Coney Barrett. So in theory, if we can bring some case to the Supreme Court to reestablish the separation of branches, that will be critically important.
Agreed.
But I did want to bring up a couple of things. So when people say, well, who do you want arrested? I mentioned Fast and Furious, right? Eric Holder needs to be in jail. And it was proven he lied to Congress. He perjured himself. Lois Lerner.
Ah, yes.
Oh, perjured herself
Yep.
with the IRS and all of that. So here's the thing. When I get to Senate, there is a video clip of Rand Paul. Joni Ernst is also on board. He wants to investigate Fauci. When I get to Senate, I'm going to join him. We're going to investigate him. I brought you a video clip. I hope we can quick play it before the end of our segment.
If the Republicans take over the Senate, I'll be chairman of a committee, and I absolutely pledge to the American people I will use the subpoena power to get every one of those emails unredacted. I will also have them come in and interviewed under oath by an investigator. We're going to get to the bottom of this. Why? 6 million people died around the world, and they've covered up whether this came from a lab. They completely dismissed it, and they kind of admitted in their emails why they dismissed it. They said it would be damaging to the reputation of the NIH, damaging to the reputation of Fauci and Collins, and damaging in the reputation to the Chinese researchers. So they covered it up because they did not want the truth to be told, but we will find the truth.
Yeah.
I believe he will find the truth, too.
Absolutely.
I trust him.
And I want to be right there with him, supporting him, and making Anthony Fauci pay. What he did to the world, and especially the United States, is
Have you had a good response when you say that on the trail?
Oh, my gosh, yeah. Yeah, people are on board. So, yes, holding the bureaucrats accountable, Anthony Fauci, top of the list, but he's just top of the pyramid. Top of the pyramid. There's so many. We have to take the control back, and it takes people with spine who aren't afraid to say it that get to the Senate. So there you go.
I thought we could maybe just have a little conversation this last segment with you today on politics in the 701 area code.
So, right, the only contested race at the convention is the U.S. Senate race, John Hoeven's current seat. And so that's what all the hullabaloo is about. There's really no other races. Now, there'll be other contested races in the primary, but in the convention, which is this Saturday, no other races. So there is a lot going on. And people expected originally that John Hoeven was just going to kick butt in the convention, win it with 80% of the vote. And what he is finding is that the mood of the state is very much different than he had assumed. And I say assumed because he's not in touch enough to actually know. And so he assumed he was going to glide right in. And the mood is very, very much different. And I think that with all of the extensive polling they're doing, text polling, phone calls, and so forth, they're finding that it's much closer, or more likely they're actually behind. And so they've resorted to being a little bit more desperate. And so it's made things interesting, very negative. And you and I had a conversation about where former Governor Ed Schaefer was calling my campaign nasty.
I remember.
And it was based on a couple of people that shouted out, heckled, and said, you know, John's a rhino or something like that.
I'm sorry, but that's never acceptable. I really have a hard time with that. I understand people are passionate.
Yes.
I understand they're going to, have a hard time curbing themselves some more. But I'm a big fan of self-control.
And I don't condone it at all, and I ask anybody who supports me to not do that. But Lori, we also have to put it into context, or put it in its proper place. We're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people across the state, most of which are very passionate. Yeah. And you have a couple people that say he's a rhino. I mean, so we have to put on our big boy pants at some point and say, okay, it's not going to be all cookies and cream 100% of the time. However, ironically, for us being called the nasty campaign, things have turned very nasty in my opposition.
Are you talking about the whole entire paper publication that's been sent out to?
I brought it here.
You
Lori.
did not.
Do you mean this?
Okay.
Yes. So here is a paper which has to do with nothing except me and misrepresenting my votes.
The whole thing is you.
The whole well, yeah, it's just, this is a political ad. It looks like a newspaper. In fact, didn't they give it a name? So this is put out by Pat Finken. Pat Finken was the president of Odney. Yeah, they call it the North Dakota Times. And so this is put out by Pat Finken. And he is John Hoeven's friend and former campaign manager. He ran Odney for many years, the same advertising company that got tens of millions, if not hundreds of $1,000,000 from North Dakota state government for advertising and so forth. And so he's a political guru. And he has taken to an extraordinarily negative campaign, which he knows better than to do because people are turned off by it, especially at this level when it's Republican versus Republican. You don't go crazy. This is Democrat tactics.
It's weird
because
though,
these are all lies.
Well, and it's happening before the convention is
Right.
the part that I don't
And
really understand.
what does that tell you? It tells you that they are desperate. There's no other explanation. No other explanation at all. Now, it's very interesting, and I'm looking at, believe it or not, I am looking at North Dakota Century Code 16.1-10-.04. Publication of false information in political advertisements, penalty, Class A misdemeanor. For a person knowingly or reckless disregard for its truth or falsity publishes any political advertisement or news release that contains any assertion, representation, or statement of fact, including information concerning a candidate's prior public record, which is untrue, deceptive, or misleading. Class
So
A
that's an
misdemeanor.
actual Century Code. Is there a penalty for that?
Class A misdemeanor is up to a year in jail.
Wow.
And I can tell you, this is all misrepresentations, deceit, and lies. So we're going to look at that because it's really gone overboard. So that's what we have.
That sounds kind of nasty to me.
Right. So here's the thing. You know, North Dakota has been spending like crazy, too much spending. One of the approaches they take is, now they've combed through 10 years of voting. That's thousands of bills. All they could come up with is this weak-ass crap. That's all they could come up with. What they're looking at is, for instance, when I vote no on a budget, an agency budget, because they want so much more money, and they want to expand their budget, expand everything, I vote no on it. That's what my constituents want. That's what a conservative does. I voted no for every agency budget, as far as I know, sometime, at least once over the course of 10 years. What they've done is they said, oh, Becker voted no against the Attorney General's budget. What that means is he wants to defund the police. That's their claim. They say that I want to, because I didn't like the increase, that I don't want the Attorney General's office to have any money. I want to defund the police, and I want North Dakota to not be able to defend itself in lawsuits against the federal government. Everything they're saying in here is the opposite of what I represent. And yet they've gone to that level. It blows me away. Now, they do say about abortion. We've covered abortion.
Right.
I voted incorrectly. I made mistakes for over the period of like a couple of weeks in 2013
your
before I
first
was
term,
very
right?
settled on what the proper role of government was with abortion. Now, they bring that out. Okay, I deserve that. I can defend it. All I can say is I made a mistake. They twist it to make it sound like I'm still that way. But anyway, so I could go on in detail about that. Here's another thing that's interesting. The Brighter Future campaign, Pat Finken, John Hoeven's friend, has been sending texts out and making phone calls and social media posts directed at people who are delegates to the convention. Now, riddle me this, Batman. How does he get the information of who's a delegate?
Wait.
He is not allowed to have that information. You know who has the information? I have the information. John Hoeven has the information. How does Pat Finken have the information? It's illegal to give it to a PAC.
Interesting.
Now, I'm not accusing John Hoeven. You know why? Because Dawson Schefter, who was the former state director for the North Dakota GOP, put on his website for public viewing, he's got now Rough Rider, what the heck is it? Rough Rider Ventures is a consulting firm he has. He's posting updates of all of the delegate information. How is he getting that? The state party has it. Why does Dawson Schefter, who hasn't been with the state party for at least a couple years, have this information? Why is he making it public? Now, this comes from the North Dakota State Party, the chair of which has already said he endorses John Hoeven. Inappropriate, wrong for the state party chair to do, because we don't know who we're endorsing. That's the purpose of the convention.
Right.
And he's sending out mailers saying, we need to re-elect John Hoeven. And this is the same party that is allowing Dawson Schefter, who's got a consulting firm, to have access to all of the data that no one is supposed to have access to. It includes additional data, which I'm not going to bring up because I don't want people searching it, which is sensitive information.
Oh, no.
Now, and then you wonder, why are people sick of the leadership in the Republican Party in North Dakota? Why do they not trust the chair of the North Dakota Republican Party? Why do they not trust him? I don't know. If it walks like a duck, sounds like a duck, I was going to say smells like a duck. I don't know how they smell. But anyway, it's probably a duck. For crying out loud, I don't know. What are your thoughts, Lori?
My thought is, I'm trying to figure out what a duck smells like. I'm sorry. I want to tell you that
yes,
you are invited on this program, and for our viewers, a note for our viewers too, that we have once again invited Senator Hoeven on the program as well. I just want to make it clear that I am also neutral in this case. I am not working on your campaign, nor have I ever.
I don't think you're wanting to tell me that. I think you're giving a disclaimer.
I'm giving a disclaimer. I am. I'm giving a disclaimer to the viewers so that they know that that is very true.
You
but
should
we do
just have me on. Why in the hell would you have John Hoeven on?
Well, we have invited him, and unfortunately, it just has not worked with his schedule thus far. And we do continue to make the exact same opportunity available to your opponent. I just wanted to make that clear so that people don't think that I'm always having you on purpose. I am neutral also. So I appreciate you coming on, and that was kind of a blockbuster little tidbit.
I'm neutral too.
Yeah.
I can't even decide between me and John Hoeven. I'm so neutral.